And also on 99.3 FM.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
The following program is for mature and logical audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Play YMCA. Go ahead. Let's go. Nice and loud.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Thinking Logically. It's your host, Joseph Anthony Corsai. And boy, do we once again have lots to cover on today's show. Just reading the show notes, a lot here. President Trump, he was in Pittsburgh Tuesday talking about not only artificial intelligence, but also the Unabomber, of all things. Also, speaking of domestic terrorists, we're going to talk about the letter that Minnesota political assassin Vance Bolter wrote to FBI Director Kash Patel. Yes, it's very strange, I know. Also, who really is Jeffrey Epstein? How do he make his money? Where did he get his start? We're getting into that, as well as we're hearing there's now 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 minutes missing from the video, the prison video. Pam Bondi and the DOJ released that Jeffrey Epstein, it was just a cell. There was just a minute missing. Let it go. It happened on Y2K, 1999. What else? Oh, also, Jasmine Crockett. Apparently, she doesn't speak proper English. We have an audio clip from her. And we're going to play more audio from Shane Gillis at the ESPYs, as well as discuss how President Trump got Coca-Cola to change their recipe. Before we get started, Ryan, you're a sports guy.
Yes, sir.
Today is one of the only days in the calendar year, except I guess for the World Cup maybe every 4 years, where there isn't a major sporting event going on. Yesterday, for sure, and today too, actually, if you don't count golf. How are you handling this?
It's tough. No, Joe, you know what? I got my mind so wrapped in this, trying to figure out what in the world is going on with the whole Jeffrey Epstein situation. So I couldn't wait, actually, to get to work today to hear what you had to say about these things. All
right. Well, we got 24 hours to figure it out. Then I think sports are back on Friday and Steelers go to camp. And
yes, sir.
We're going to lose you and the rest of the nation. At least around Western Pennsylvania.
And you know that big push that the Pirates always make at the end of the season. That always keeps
push
us.
To trade people away. Some people from the Pirates are going to disappear like the Epstein list.
How embarrassing.
Okay. Today's first segment is going to center around illegal immigration. And I want to start off the segment by reading a headline from the New York Times. And audience, I just have to say, every once in a while, a headline comes around that is just so insanely stupid that I could spend probably an entire segment, maybe the entire show, talking about it. And this is one of those headlines. I'm going to read it. Audience, brace for impact on this one. Headline, quote, I was one of Biden's border advisors. Here's how to fix our immigration system. And then above the article, it says, quote, opinion, a guest essay. This is actually an op-ed from the New York Times, and it's written by Blas Nunes Neto. Who is he, you may ask? He was an assistant secretary for border and immigration policy at Biden's Department of Homeland Security. And that was the headline right there. I was one of Biden's border advisors. Here's how to fix our immigration system. Yeah, who better to give us advice on how to fix our immigration system than a Biden border advisor? What's the next opinion piece / guest essay going to be about? Hi, I'm O.J. Simpson. Here's how to fix your marriage. My name is Omar, and I used to work for Al Qaeda. Here's how you could check an airplane's altitude. I could go on forever. I was the captain of the Titanic. Here's how to avoid hitting an iceberg. What?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't make this up. Why would the New York Times even publish this? There's no reason to. It just gives your outlet less credibility, and it's embarrassing. Who's going to... This might actually get great sales, but it's only to mock it. People are laughing at you, not with you, New York Times. All right, we could spend the whole segment on that, but why? Let's move on to another main character being introduced in the illegal immigration storybook, at least the 2025 chapter. So, audience, if you remember, we'll take you back. First, there was the Maryland man. We've covered him almost in exhaustion. It's been so much. Kilmar Abrego Garcia Parra, whatever we call him now. The Maryland man. Maryland father, then he was a Maryland man. Then there was the Denver dad, because D&D, that's good for the media. It rolls off the tongue better. The Denver dad, who ended up, I don't even think, being a dad, and was here illegally for 30 years. Never bothered to get citizenship, was arrested numerous times. Then there was a Houston mom, who was, for some reason, trafficking people across the border into Texas. How she got the label Houston mom, I have no idea. Probably because she wound up in Houston. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the Providence neighbor. That's the new one. Here's the story. ICE arrested Ivan. Is it Ivan or Ivan? I'm going to say Ivan. It could be Ivan. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Ivan Rene Mendoza Meza, an illegal Honduran alien and self-admitted MS-13 gang member in Providence, Rhode Island. His criminal history includes 3 charges for fentanyl trafficking, and Rhode Island's 6th District Court ignored an ICE detainer and released him back into the community. That's amazing. So, again, the Providence neighbor is a previously deported illegal alien. He self-admitted that he was part of a gang, MS-13, which is basically the same thing as Al-Qaeda in this country in 2004, 2005. And he was trafficking fentanyl. Let me do what else. In June of 2024, this is under Biden's administration, and the guy that penned an opinion essay, the guest essay, New York Times, was part of this administration. Mendoza was released on $50,000 bail, requiring him to post 10% in cash or the full amount in property. Wait, that seemed like such a low amount for someone that sells fentanyl, $5,000 cash. But wait a minute. How would someone here illegally have $50K in property? Unless the property was also fentanyl. Let me read some of the article to you about how this man was apprehended. Keep in mind, this guy knows he's a criminal gang member here illegally. He knows that. Mendoza's detention on Sunday, July 13th was preceded by a pursuit along Plainfield Pike and Alverson Avenue, according to police. When Mendoza abruptly stopped his Toyota Tacoma pickup, an ICE agent crashed into it, said Providence Police Chief Colonel Oscar L. Perez Jr. When did Rhode Island become Latin America? We'll get into it more, but wait till you see the state representatives I'm going to read you. But back up. How is he driving a pickup truck if he's here illegally? I don't know. Second, of course he ran. He knew it was going to happen. They're lucky he didn't turn this into a high-speed chase and kill a child like what happened to Aiden Clark in Columbus, Ohio. Remember that story? We talked about that over the summer. The crash apparently brought Providence police to the scene. Because remember, it was just ICE, where ICE agents were gearing up to raid the particular house that Mendoza had run to. And that's what the chief of police, or the Colonel Oscar L. Perez Jr. said. Adding that Mendoza then came outside and ICE personnel captured him, I guess, without incident. Well, sounds like there might have been an incident before that. Anyway, Perez called a press conference on Monday to clarify that while Providence police had certain duties at the scene of the crash, they did not participate in Mendoza's detention. This is like in 3rd grade when you tell on yourself. Are the police afraid of blowback from protesters or, I don't know, local politicians? I think maybe they are. Listen to what city councilors wrote to Chief of Police Perez in a letter. Quote, "The presence of Providence police officers next to ICE agents during the detainment was deeply disturbing to the community. Council President Rachel Miller said in an unrelated news conference on Tuesday that it's important for people to feel like they can go to the police for help without their status being questioned." Ma'am, the police were just there because there was a car accident. There should be should the police not show up for car accidents now? Especially a car accident involving an illegal alien who's trafficking drugs and currently running from federal agents in the community? I don't get... What the hell? This is a tweet from Rhode Island State Representative David Morales. Again, when did Rhode Island become Latin America? The city council? The chief of police? All the pharmacy people that are actually just dealing in fentanyl are illegal aliens? So this is a tweet from Rhode Island State Representative David Morales. This morning in our Silver Lake neighborhood, Providence police and ICE violently raided a man's home and detained one of our neighbors. This is unacceptable. Providence should not be assisting ICE as they terrorize our community. They were there for, sir, first off, they were there for a car crash. Second of all, this is kind of what we voted for. Actually, this is exactly what we voted for. Think about it, audience. Fentanyl kills Americans that live in Rhode Island. This guy's not only trafficking that drug, fentanyl, but he's doing it double illegally because he's not even here illegally. So he's selling fentanyl while driving around, not while he's here. Do you think he cares if he says, God forbid he enters a school zone with the drugs? You think he's going to care? But somehow he gets more rights than us. Like shouldn't he be raided and arrested? I mean, think back. Weren't there two in Center Township? Weren't there two raids in Woodhaven? It was that the leaders that the church over drugs in Woodhaven, twice the same exact house. Did that family get any sympathy? Not really. No. But for some reason, we should give this illegal alien selling fentanyl, killing Americans, he should get sympathy and he should not be detained. The police shouldn't even show up to car accidents now. Here's another one. Hold on. This is a tweet from State Representative Enrique Sanchez. Again. Back to the Latin. What is with the Latin names in the Rhode Island House of Representatives? Rhode Island is literally this big.
Yeah, right.
It's this big. Anyway, State Representative Enrique Sanchez. I feel like I'm watching like the early round boxing bouts at in the mid 2000s at a pay-per-view. It's all Latin people. He spoke to NBC 10 in the media about the kidnapping. He called it kidnapping of a Providence neighbor by Nazi Gestapo ICE thugs. This is what I strongly condemn this act of terror and will always stand up and fight for our marginalized communities in Providence and across Rhode Island. Sir. First of all, this isn't a marginalized community. Actually, we citizens of the United States, we're slowly becoming the marginalized community. This dude didn't even stop there, though. This is a state representative. He put out another tweet and said this: I am submitting legislation in the next General Assembly session to make it illegal for towns, municipalities, and police departments in Rhode Island to cooperate in any way or form with Nazi Gestapo ICE officials. Audience, imagine that. You're a citizen of the United States that lives in Rhode Island, and you wind up in prison because let me check my notes. You help federal agents remove someone here illegally trafficking hard drugs? You can't even touch fentanyl. People it's like that. You touch fentanyl, you just pass out and die.
Yeah.
And they want it here. This dude wants to make it illegal, this state representative, to help root out criminal foreign gang members embedded in our local communities. Someone check this man's bank statements. He's a local politician. Is it too crazy to ask if these people are getting a, quote, piece of the fentanyl trade? It's like we always talk about the movie The Godfather. There are payoffs. It happens. Back in the day, though, think about it. Even organized criminals stayed away from hard drugs. Now that's all it is, apparently. I can't believe this. This guy. ICE is enforcing federal law. That's it. These people shouldn't be here. But for some reason, local, state, even those in our actual house, the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate, they want them here. And they're all Democrat. It makes you wonder. Does the Democrat Party have ties to MS-13 or other gangs? Do these gangs work for the Democrats? Is that why we are seeing this? Is it possible? Obviously, they're not on the payroll, but can they be paid off the books? Is that why we're seeing, like I said, this last stand of the 300 at Thermopylae by Democrats over illegal criminal gang members in this country killing and raping people and selling fentanyl?
If that's the case, Joe, I mean, that's a very bad situation to be in. I mean, if there's money being exchanged between, any politician and MS-13 in this country, that's really, really bad.
It's the worst ever.
People in Mexico are deathly afraid of these people for 100 reasons. I mean, you could give 100 reasons why these are the most terrible people, certainly on this side of this hemisphere. But Joe, if that was actually going on, could you imagine how would you ever get in and uproot that problem to fix it?
Look, you talk about this is a dangerous gang. You talk about the Bloods and the Crips. They'll shoot you in Chicago. You might wind up dead.
Right.
But you won't be tortured to death.
Right. I mean, these guys they cut your face off.
You don't want to know what they'll do.
Right.
What we see in like the TV shows, that's first off, it's watered down, but it's based off true
Absolutely.
things that happen.
It's very, very bad stuff.
Yes, very, very bad stuff. Stuff we can't even talk about on the radio
Right.
that we've seen, we know happens.
And that's what I say, Joe. If we're mixed in with these people, this is a bad road. That is a bad road to be going down.
But they basically want to free all dangerous trespassers that have been arrested. And most of them were arrested for selling drugs, raping people, or killing people. And a lot of the arrests were before. They were roaming around free after being charged with these crimes, like this guy, fentanyl. Roaming around free, $50,000 bond, but you only got to come up with $5,000. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was found with, what, $1,200 on him?
Yeah.
All you got to do is turn a few more, flip that money. What is it? Flip that money a few more times, son.
Right.
Re-up a couple times. And they cry about Alligator Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Did you see this headline?
Listen, what Alligator Alcatraz makes what they do in MS-13 look like, you know what I mean? That's
Candyland.
Right. They're going to complain
Candyland.
about this, but these people that really torture people on the daily and all these things that they're involved with, I can't believe it, Joe. I can't believe it.
From the Daily Mail. Migrant being held in Alligator Alcatraz now begging for chance to self-deport. It's too late. I mean, well, okay, let's talk about the self-deportations for 1 second, because we're going to have to move to it. But if these people self-deport, think about it. I think if I was here illegally, I may self-deport because we're going to need some of these people back. We're going to need some of these people back, or it'd be helpful to have some of these people back. Not 20 million, but maybe 1 million. So 1 out of 20. Wouldn't you want to be one of the first people out and say, hey, I did a wrong thing. I want to come in the right way because I love this country. And don't you think that this administration would welcome them back as long as they're not here like criminals or bad people? They were here if you're here for 20 years doing honest thing, you self-deport, you might be coming back in 2027, 2026. We don't know what's going to happen, but once you're gone for good.
Isn't that a case of maybe the Democrats screwing their people that they want to support them over? I see it happening with minorities all the time. They, obviously with the black voter, with the Latino voter, by enabling the situation, you're not allowing them to do the right thing. You're not allowing these people from Mexico to do the right thing. Now, if they would do the right thing, self-deport, come back, do it right, there would be zero problem at all. Come back, live in our country, enjoy the freedom, work, make money. But being enabled by the Democrats is kind of putting them it's kind of screwing them.
It'd be nice to see a media outlet, the left will never do it, cover a family's journey of self-deportation and actually the story.
Yeah.
That'd be a nice, I like to hear from it because I'm interested to see, is it, is that the best thing? You're here illegally. Something's got to be done. I don't know. But again, I'd like to see something like that cover someone that self-deports. But again, we can't even get on our honest media to cover. We had children literally in a marijuana field. We talked that in exhaustion last week. We got to wonder how many more kids are coming over. Was that the whole plan? It's kind of like slavery, like we talked about.
One thing that just baffles my mind, Joe, is all these groups that generally vote for the Democrats. When you look into it, you could see how the Democrats are basically screwing these people over. Again, allow these people to go and do it right, come back, and they can live the greatest life they want in this country. No, the Democrats are going to lead them down the road where they're going to get arrested, taken down, exported, deported, and not being able to come back. You see what I'm saying? Why are they doing to these people?
I don't know. I have no idea. But a lot of them coming over are children and young people too. And they went missing. And we're just scratching the surface, believe me, this illegal immigration stuff. Here's a story, and I put this on the list. I couldn't find if the person was here illegally or not. Horrific. A 19-year-old worker dead after getting trapped in meat grinder machine at California burrito factory. I'm not going to laugh because it's very sad, but you almost can't make it up. And were they here illegally? I don't know. I can't find any information at all. But what's a 19-year-old doing in a meat grinder? I guess that's of age, but I don't know. If it finds out this person was here illegally, that business ought to have been shut down. And I think it might have been Tina's Burrito Factory.
Oh, wow.
I think they're, yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. Firefighters needed 45 minutes to remove that victim's remains from the machine. Ugh. And again, if the person was here illegally, who's at fault? Who's at fault? Is it the company for hiring him, for bringing him in? Is it the Biden administration for letting him in? What if it's a 16-year-old person that happens? And we're just speculating because we don't even have a person who's here illegally. But again, you go back to the California wheat fields and the young children found there. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, though, we're going to talk about Trump in Pennsylvania talking about AI and the Unabomber. How do those two things relate? I don't know. We'll talk about it, though, when we return to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP. It's Joe again from Thinking Logically, here to tell you about one of my favorite clothing items, the MyPillow hoodie. Two things I love the most about this hoodie are how it fits and how it feels. This hoodie is extremely roomy, and its terry cloth material makes it lighter than any other hoodie I own. Use promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings. The MyPillow hoodie. Get yours today. It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Galla with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Galla of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond.
Growth starts with community, and Clearview Federal Credit Union is thrilled to continue growing with you. We're now proud to serve Beaver County with 5 convenient financial centers throughout the area. Clearview is here to help you build a stronger financial future with personalized solutions and a passion for supporting our communities every step of the way. Learn more about how you can support your goals at clearviewfcu.org/new-view. Clearview, clearly different.
Have you ever wanted to work in radio? Well, now's your chance. St. Barnabas Broadcasting is a network of 11 radio stations, and we're looking for account executives to help introduce St. Barnabas Broadcasting and digital media to new prospective clients and help grow existing ones. Experience in sales is preferred. Interested candidates can send their resume to fsparks@beavercountyradio.com or by calling 724-444-JOBS.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP, brought to you by His Place at 908 Market Street in Bridgewater. His Place, where community, wellness, and purpose come together. So built in 1907 and formerly a church, His Place is now a beautifully restored veteran-led venue, and it's more than a building. It's a movement for healing, hope, and health. Are you looking for the ideal place to host your next event? His Place at 908 Market Street in Bridgewater has everything you need for hosting corporate events, weddings, showers, birthdays, you name it. Call 878-201-3098. That's 878-201-3098 and book your date today. That's His Place at 908 Market Street in Bridgewater. Okay, some breaking news here, audience. Caroline Leavitt just announced President Trump has been diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency after the swelling in his legs. I guess an echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or illness were identified. See, audience, this is how things should have been handled 4 years ago. Instead, they chose to cover up the president's health. All right, let's get back to President Trump. So President Trump, he was in Pittsburgh on Tuesday talking about artificial intelligence and the Unabomber. Trump said the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski was one of his Uncle John's students. Remember John Trump? We did an entire episode on him and his uncle. He said, quote, "My uncle had 3 degrees, nuclear, chemical, and math, and Kaczynski was one of his students." Before I get into this, play Trump's audio because this is kind of crazy.
You know who Kaczynski was? There's very little difference between a madman and a genius. But Kaczynski, I said, what kind of a student was he, Uncle John, Dr. John Trump? He said, what kind of a student? And then he said, seriously good. He said he'd go around correcting everybody. But It didn't work out too well for him. Didn't work out too well, but it's interesting in life. But I will say,
Now would be the perfect time for the media to pounce on Trump and question his cognitive abilities, because in the last 24 hours, he claimed that Obama wrote the Epstein files and that his Uncle John taught the Unabomber. Now, there's just one problem with the second part. Ted Kaczynski never attended MIT. In fact, I looked, there's no record of him at MIT ever. He earned his undergraduate degree from Harvard University in 1962. After that, he pursued graduate studies at the University of Michigan, where he received his PhD in mathematics in 1967. So I don't think Dr. Trump was ever near him, but imagine being Dr. Trump if this is true. First, you get to see all of Nikola Tesla's classified notebooks after his death. Then you Professor Ted Kaczynski before he goes to the dark side for some reason. And then your nephew becomes president of the United States and gets access to all this classified information, all this stuff that we don't know the truth to. Ryan, remember we did the time-traveling Trump episode about how Trump actually may be a time traveler?
Of course, that was one of my favorites.
Bad move for Trump to time travel into a timeline where everyone now thinks he's a pedophile.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the Unabomber for a second here. I find it hard to believe that Trump just randomly said this and got everything completely wrong. Ted Kaczynski, he's been dead for, I think, about 2 years. He was found, I think, dead in his jail cell in June of 2023. I think he died of cancer. But who is Ted Kaczynski? Kaczynski, he's probably the most famous victim of the CIA MKUltra project that supposedly doesn't exist. Kaczynski's teacher, Henry Murray, he was an American psychologist at Harvard University. And from 1959 to 1962, he conducted a series of psychologically damaging and purposefully abusive experiments on minors and also undergraduate students of his. And again, one of those students was Ted Kaczynski, later known as the Unabomber. It's just weird because we've always said some of these shootings, these acts of terror, they're carried out by people that, and it's crazy to say this, are mind controlled by the government. I mean, think back. These shooters always have ties to federal agencies or federal agents or the military. The Buffalo grocery store shooter from, 2022? He was in a chat room talking to an FBI agent or a former FBI agent or both. Then there was Maxwell Crooks or whatever his name was. He had ties to FBI agents and was frequenting the same gun ranges as FBI agents. And he had a burner phone. A 19-year-old socially awkward bookworm had a burner phone. What was the guy that shot President Reagan? He had ties to, his father went to high school with George H.W. Bush. Then there's Lee Harvey Oswald, who was shot in the stomach while in custody in a police station basement by Jack Ruby. What about his ties and his claims to MKUltra? And I don't know, why does Trump bring up Ted Kaczynski when it's easily fact-checked and he's wrong? I don't know. Maybe he wants to draw attention to Ted Kaczynski. Maybe he wants to draw attention to MKUltra or this kind of stuff in general. Maybe. And if so, that's a perfect transition to our next topic, which is the Minnesota political assassin, Vance Bolter. It turns out he wrote a letter, and in this letter, he said he was instructed to kill these people by Governor Tim Dancing Queen Walz. I'm sorry, we have to make that reference every time. Every single time I say Tim Walz, I gotta say Dancing Queen Walz, we gotta hit that. It's too good. Anyway, and this is going to sound weird, but hey, it's 2025, so you just never know. Apparently this Vance Bolter guy alleges he was part of a clandestine political plot, and he claims he was trained off the books by U.S. military and deployed globally from Asia to Africa. And again, if you remember this guy's job resume, that part at least lines up. Who we have? Dawn.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, from now on, my name is Francisco. I heard you mentioned Time Machine.
The Beaver
wait a
Falls
minute,
father.
Ted Kaczynski. Years ago, a friend of mine told me he was not. You have to be so careful with all these liberals listening to the radio. First of all, they have no sense of humor, but not only that, you can't make a mistake. He was very clear. I'm not condoning what he did. Those were not random people that he blew up, were they?
No, but the media, for some reason, wants you to think they were random people, and that was kind. I was very young when that was happening, but that was kind of like the narrative at first for a little bit, wasn't it?
I know very little about him, but when you mentioned the Time Machine, I would like to see a movie where someone gets in a time machine and goes back and campaigns for Barry Goldwater and gets him elected and then flashes back to America and is prosperous, it is debt-free, there's none of what's going on is going on. What do you think would have happened if Goldwater would have won?
I have to stop you there, Don, because the butterfly effect. If you go back, things could be worse. And honestly, what if you come back and it's 12 years of Obama or something? Because think about it. Someone could say, I wish I could go back and have Mitt Romney beat Barack Obama. Because if you remember, that was a close election up until Mitt Romney just flat out didn't show up for the second debate and didn't press Obama after he beat him in the first one.
He took his foot off the accelerator, but proceed, sir.
We would have had 8 years of Mitt Romney probably. We would have never had Donald Trump, and we would have just been going on, and we would just be all political idiots. We wouldn't have had all this stuff. Did you know anything about Epstein before Donald Trump, or did you know anything about like the WEF?
Absolutely nothing. I don't remember when I became aware of him. I do know there's lots of reasons not to release the list. No matter. Well, now they have two catchphrases now. Let me see, like Frankenstein, fire bad, January 6th, and Epstein files. That's all you have to say around a Democrat, right?
I got to agree. And speaking of January 6th, remember them January 6th people were given no due process? They were just rounded up like cattle and just thrown in cells, never given a trial, some for a year, slept on a concrete floor. But they want due process for these Maryland fathers, these Providence dads or Providence neighbors, the Denver dads. They all supposed to get due process.
They don't have due process. I guarantee it. And I without even studying it, I guarantee it. According to our morals and our Constitution, I'm sure everyone is supposed to be treated humanely. How could they possibly have due process when you're not supposed to be here?
Exactly. I'll tell you what, you got to abide by our rules, number one. Selling fentanyl is definitely against the rules here. You go to Saudi Arabia and you open up a bottle of liquor and you watch. You see what happens. You see if you get any due process. Your due process might be a stone to the face.
Exactly. And as far as our ICE people being the Gestapo, my dad was in World War II, but he was an X-ray technician in England, but he had the pictures of when their base got bombed, and they had to run outside and jump into the ditches. So the front line was everywhere, and we were laughing at Hogan's Heroes one time, me and some other little kids. And he wouldn't watch it. He'd watch anything else with us. And I said, why won't you watch Hogan's Heroes? And he said, because it portrays the Nazis as stupid and as clowns, and they were anything but. How quick would it take the Gestapo, the Nazis, to put a bunch of trust fund babies with protesting in line?
They would do it with glee, too.
Oh man! It would
and you know what the crazy thing is?
A rabbit in an open field, right?
The people getting rounded up by the Gestapo are the same people that probably would have been for all those things. They don't even know what they don't even know what a Nazi really is anymore. It's been so watered down, and they don't even know they're the real Nazis. They were the Nazis during COVID, that's for sure.
I had no idea. My answer is always the same. Nick Rolovich from Washington State calmly walked away from a $5.5 million head coaching job because they told him, you either get this vaccine or else. But I'd like to do a little documentary for the Democrats, a vaccine for Maxine. And you could advertise on how perfectly safe. Does anyone know what ingredients are in the vaccine?
I believe what's that graphite? What's the?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's some lovely stuff. You know, I remember my one aunt would patiently be reading the boxes of cereal, and anything she fed her family, she would read the ingredients. And both her and her husband lived into the 90s.
And we're like that. And they want to make us out like we're crazy for following RFK and saying, hey, what is in this food? Hey, this dye that nowhere else in the world uses besides the United States, where people are getting fatter and uglier at a rate that shouldn't exist, shouldn't happen. Is this maybe part of the problem? These dyes, what we're putting in the food?
We are probably being hit on so many levels. Plus, what they want us to be psychologically is a frightened, sickly 9.5-year-old child. That is how they're treating us.
Exactly, because you're easier to control that way.
Oh, boy. You're right, though. If Goldwater had gotten in, we are really battle-hardened now, aren't we?
We are. I don't think there's ever any coming back for us. I honestly don't think we could lose.
No, listen, I just picked up a book on Andrew Jackson at, what was that? New Orleans, the Battle of New Orleans.
You know that took place after the war technically was already over. But go on.
Yes, it did. And supposedly he is portrayed as a racist. He had about 300 free men of color, 230 of them Haitians. He had about an equal number of Choctaw Indians. He had pirates. He cobbled together a coalition. And one man in New Orleans said something about the blacks fighting with us. And they said he turned around and just snarled at him, maybe you need to keep your opinions to yourself. They have totally changed history, have they not?
They have.
We have no choice. Just like Andrew Jackson at New Orleans, we have no choice but win. There's two choices, and you know what the alternative is. You ever see the movie The Matrix? You know what the alternative is, right, sir?
Yes, great movie.
Take care.
Hey, I have to say real quick, Don, what was the point I was going to make? Oh, Andrew Jackson. You know what the most famous and the best thing he ever did for this country? He got rid of the...
we were debt-free
exactly. He got rid of the Federal Reserve. I think the second Federal Reserve System or the first Federal Reserve System.
He was another one. There were two or three early in our history. Thomas Jefferson, I think he said...
The charter ran out. Yes.
What's that?
The charter ran out and they didn't renew it. And then they got it back somehow, and Andrew Jackson put an end to it. And then 1913 was when they brought it back for the third time, technically, Federal Reserve System.
A Democrat, Woodrow Wilson.
A racist Democrat.
Incredibly racist. Take care.
Thanks, Don.
Who also, we should also, was like Joe Biden, had a stroke and was not physically able to do the job of president. His wife had to do it.
Joe, just one more thing before I know you have to go on break. You know, it was interesting when you were talking about the due process for these illegals. You know, so on one hand, the left wants them to break the law and disregard the law and come here illegally. That's okay.
Yeah.
But then they want the due process, which is the right thing to do. So do you see what I'm saying? They're all over the road. They're not helping these immigrants at all. No. They're really not. They're only making their situation worse.
They don't care. They only care about the vote.
This could really all be resolved if you would just stop listening to them, because they're putting them in bad situations. Come on, it's okay. It's okay. You can come here. We're all immigrants. That's true. However, there's a system in place, and if you don't, if you're encouraging them to come here illegally, but then you want the due process, they're out of their minds. I just don't understand what they're doing, Joe. They're hurting.
Let's just open up our borders and give up our sovereignty.
They're hurting these people while they're hurting people in this country.
Speaking of hurting people, before we go to the break, let's just cover this Tim Dancing Queen Walls and his associate. Maybe we don't know. So in this letter that Vance Volter wrote to Kash Patel, he says that Walls personally approached him to eliminate Democrat Senators Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith to clear a path for Waltz to run for the U.S. Senate. Bolter confesses to the killings of the Hortmans and attempted murders of the Hoffmans, positioning himself as a foot soldier in a secret operation alleged directed by the governor. And then you remember this guy's roommate, who we spent nearly an entire episode covering. Remember, Ryan, the Papa John's delivery guy that would read texts out from the shooter?
He was sweaty.
So sweaty.
Yeah.
To the media. Well, the feds never took his phone or anything. That roommate, for some reason, said, and he was very specific when he said this. He said, quote, Vance Bolter hated Tim Walz. Remember, I have all the quotes right here.
Oh, yeah.
He would be so mad if he knew you called him a Democrat. And then, he doesn't really want me involved. As he was reading text from his phone off his phone to the media. No one from the police stopped by or grabbed his phone. And then the day before, when the shootings happened, the media was reporting on the story as if they already knew the motive and the narrative. And now we find out that Bolter wrote a letter where he claims Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and police, he says, were involved in these killings. And before I write this off, I mean, the police were in the driveway before the two people were murdered. And he supposedly went in through the front door with the police there, mind you, in the driveway, shot and killed two people, and then escaped out the back for like a day. All that being said, I mean, about this letter, it does seem a little bit ridiculous, at least, that law enforcement, is releasing this in the middle of an ongoing criminal investigation. I mean, why are we able to see this?
Yeah.
And more oddly, more strange, is the letter makes Tim Walz sound like he's smart enough to create this elaborate plan that included assassinations and taking out. I mean, this dude's a self-proclaimed knucklehead that probably doesn't even know how to get the job of a senator. So I don't know if I believe that. This is from the article. Mr. Bolter allegedly fled and left behind his car, which contained notebooks listing dozens of Democrat officials as potential targets with their home addresses, as well as 5 guns and a large quantity of ammunition. I mean, that just smells suspicious. Why would you have the notebook with notebooks? Here, find this.
And wasn't he the one that had the big masks on his head too? So
yeah,
in one
latex.
sense,
how do we know that's him in that Ring doorbell camera?
On one hand, he's so worried that he has this big latex mask on. On the other hand, he's leaving things behind for you to find.
I'm glad the story is at least surfacing again. It's not going the way of Thomas Crooks, who almost killed Trump, or cancer. Remember, Joe Biden has cancer that vanished, or the Idaho shooter we covered a few weeks ago. Remember, he was the furry guy. He liked the furries, and his parents were supposedly MAGA people. And that shooter, he lured the Idaho firefighters in and started shooting them. That just vanished. So at least this one's still in the news. Hopefully, we get more of it. We're going to continue to cover it. But we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Epstein. Stay tuned. You're listening to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP.
It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Gullah with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Gullah of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond. It's Joe again from Thinking Logically, here to tell you about one of my favorite clothing items, the MyPillow hoodie. 2 things I love the most about this hoodie are how it fits and how it feels. This hoodie is extremely roomy, and its terry cloth material makes it lighter than any other hoodie I own. Use promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings. The MyPillow hoodie. Get yours today.
It's July, and that means it's time for the All-Star break. This is Andy Dangle from Freedom United Federal Credit Union. While it's true that I am somewhat of a power hitter, the real All-Stars at Freedom United are our members. And guess what? If you haven't done so already, it's time to take a break. Plan your next vacation and get away from it all. Even All-Stars need a break once in a while, and Freedom United will make it easy with our All-Star Vacation Loans. Travel, dine, and act like the All-Star that you are with the freedom of not having to worry about your finances. Stop in and apply for your All-Star Vacation Loan today and take your own All-Star break soon. Put a little freedom in your future. Member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Your success is our success. We belong to you.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP, brought to you by So Fresh, So Clean Pressure Washing. Remember, whether you need your house washed, driveway clean, patio done, fences, gutters, you name it, call Dave from So Fresh, So Clean Pressure Washing at 724-252-4489. That's 724-252-4489. They're fully insured, and they offer free estimates. So what are you waiting for? Don't be the outcast in your neighborhood with a dirty house or deck. Call Dave from So Fresh, So Clean Pressure Washing today. Okay, so we got new news about the FBI's Epstein prison video. Apparently, it lacks nearly 3 minutes, metadata shows, and it's cut at a key missing minute. And this is from Wired. So if you remember, the prison, we learned about a week or two ago, that the prison told Pam Bondi that all the cameras reset. And Bondi told us that we're going to see if every single video has this same exact cut. And Pam, we're waiting still. Now, when they come out and say, listen, this is the only video we have. This is the only video we were given. What does that mean? Does that mean that maybe the prison edited the video and they try to pass it off? It's just all very strange. Again, now we learn that it wasn't just a minute that was cut out. It was actually 3 minutes that was cut out. This is from the Wired article. Metadata from the raw Epstein prison video show approximately 2 minutes and 53 seconds were removed from one of 2 stitched together clips. The cut starts right at the missing minute. Look, Pam Bondi, the DOJ, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, are they going to come out now and say that something is wrong? Are they going to change their tune? Are we being lied to? Were they lied to? And by who? Remember, Bill Barr was the one that went to that prison the next day to, quote, investigate what happened. How could this have happened? How could he have killed himself? What did Barr find out? What was his conclusion? He said Epstein's death, I'll read it to you, and I quote here, quote, was the perfect storm of screw-ups. Okay, Bill, who screwed up the tape? What's up with the metadata? I don't know. In fact, we don't even know who Jeffrey Epstein really is. Ryan, who's Jeffrey Epstein? What does he do? How did he make his money?
You know what? That's a good question, Joe. I was going to ask you.
Like we asked Dawn, did you know anything about Jeffrey Epstein before 2019? No, everyone says no. Before that, it was the Anthony Weiner laptop that got all the attention for stuff like this. So who the hell is Jeffrey Epstein, and how is he connected to everyone and everything? Speaking of Bill Barr, audience, did you know that Jeffrey Epstein never got a college degree, but was hired as a teacher by Bill Barr's father? That was, of course, before Jeffrey Epstein became a Wall Street banker and made billions of dollars off his only client, Lex Wexner. Ryan, you know Lex Wexner. Maybe not. Lex Wexner, he owned Victoria's Secret. And he also, for some reason, gifted Epstein the most expensive house in New York City. I mean, I guess with all that money, he was then able to woo and court his longtime girlfriend, or as I call her, his handler, Ghislaine Maxwell. So who is Ghislaine Maxwell, you may ask? Well, she's not only an accomplished submarine pilot, what? Yeah, a submarine pilot, but she's also the beloved daughter of notorious Israeli spy whose company that he owned controlled textbook publishing before he was murdered on a yacht named after his beloved daughter, Ghislaine Maxwell. Robert Maxwell was his name. After that, together, Epstein and Maxwell, for years, they somehow rubbed elbows with high society elites, politicians, even scientists like Stephen Hawking, who they would invite to a private island in the middle of the Caribbean. And that's where the mystery ends. Oh yeah, one more tidbit. While together, Maxwell and Epstein, they groomed and abducted underage children and sold them to absolutely no one. Apparently, Jeffrey just made some child videos with it and kept it on videotapes maybe, and now the DOJ has it. This is strange. Who is Epstein? I don't know. Audie, do you think it's possible Epstein can still be alive? Because if he is, that's more than just evidence in a list. That's the source of it all. So what happened that day? Wouldn't it be crazy if he was removed? And speaking of Epstein, this was announced yesterday. The U.S. Department of Justice has fired Maureen Comey, federal prosecutor in the Sean Diddy, Combs, and Ghislaine Maxwell cases. It's amazing how she had all the sex trafficking cases that involve no clients. They all, well, I guess, Ghislaine didn't get off. Diddy got off. Some people will see this headline of Maureen Comey and think that Trump is trying to cover something up. They'll read it that way. I see it this way. She was the one covering things up. She was the fixer. All right, let's cover Corey Carpenter's wife real quick. She demanded answers after after the attempted assassination on President Trump, where her husband was killed. And she revealed in a recently released documentary that the FBI took Corey's phone and didn't give it back for 8 months. Play that audio, Ryan.
I only received Corey's phone back from the FBI. I had to wait 7.5 months to get this phone back. And it's all I wanted. I even asked the president to try to get his phone back. His phone was sitting in a room full of evidence from that day. It was in an envelope with nothing on it. Didn't even have Corey's name on it. It was just thrown in with a bunch of other evidence. It was never looked at. They never looked at it. The first thing I did, I opened it up and I went straight to his pictures because I wanted to see what kind of pictures he took that day. So I clicked on the very first photo and it happened to be a video.
They didn't even bother to look at the phone the entire time it was in evidence. What else did they not bother to look at? And Trump said he's satisfied with this investigation. He said that. He's satisfied with the investigation. You know, there are some people that the left still think, on the left, that still think Trump staged this assassination attempt. As if he pulled the old Ric Flair razor trick and cut his ear with a hidden blade in his hand after he heard the first, gunshot. Maybe that's why he tapped his ear so hard and then fell to the ground. But that would mean that they literally killed Corey just to not break kayfabe. I mean, now to be fair, we have said for some time that the stuff you saw between Elon Musk and Donald Trump may be kayfabe. And for those that you don't know what kayfabe is, it's the portrayal of stage elements within pro wrestling as real or authentic. They want you to think the rivalries are real, like the Iron Sheik and Hulk Hogan. They also want you to think that the casket matches are real, that The Undertaker actually buried his opponent during a casket match and they are now dead. Speaking of which, the first ever casket match, Ryan, do you know who The Undertaker defeated?
I don't know, but I'm gonna take a guess and say Kamala.
Kamala, you did get it. Wow, that's actually very good. Yeah, Undertaker successfully put Kamala in the casket and nailed it shut to win the match.
I could remember that, yes.
And speaking of Kamala, well, the wrestler, do you know when he died?
Somewhat recently. He had issues with his legs, I think, or something.
3 days, to August 9th, 2020. It was 3 days before Joe Biden announced Kamala Harris as the running mate.
Oh, now I do remember. I remember that now, yes.
Yeah, but again, people still... We kind of got sidetracked with Corey because of the wrestling aspect of it, and people thinking that Trump did the Ric Flair or whatever, with the razor blade. That's why his ear was bleeding. But we need more answers about that assassination attempt. We got a few more tidbits. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Stay tuned. Listen to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP.
Tune in to Beaver County Radio 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP every Monday and Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. for Thinking Logically with Joe Corsai. It is an all-new show that takes a look at the conservative side of politics. Thinking Logically is also presented on the WBVP-WNBA Facebook page and YouTube channel. That's Thinking Logically with Joe Corsai each and every Monday and Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on Beaver County Radio.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WNBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WNBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WNBA.
Okay, so yesterday and today was one of the few days there were no major sporting events on TV, but there was the ESPYs last night, and Shane Gillis killed it. Play the audio, please, Ryan.
Donald Trump wants to stage a UFC fight on the White House lawn. The last time he staged a fight in D.C., Mike Pence almost died. All right. You don't have to do that. It was fine. I didn't write it. Actually, there was supposed to be an Epstein joke here, but as it got deleted. Must have probably deleted itself, right? Probably never existed, actually. Let's move on as a country and ignore them.
He had a lot more. He made it great. I have to
He's a
say.
funny comedian.
All right, we have one more article. This one's significantly worse. Ryan, cut it or lower it whenever I tell you. But this is Jasmine Crockett speaking English, believe it or not.
It seems like blue states are constantly putting red states on life support, yet we got these little red states that ain't contributing nothing.
Ain't contributing nothing. Double negatives. We can't allow people to talk like this. We're going to have a generation of idiots. Ain't contributing nothing. So they are contributing something. Give me a break. Also, Trump says he convinced Coca-Cola to put real cane sugar back in the recipe. That sounds awesome. If we had 80s throwback RFK Jr. at HHS, you think he'd have the balls to put the cocaine back in Coca-Cola? That would be really cool. Let's do that. Think about it, actually. Using Joe Biden's auto pen, Hunter actually could have done that. He could have done an executive order or try to convince Coke to put the cocaine back in it. So why use real sugar? Let's just go right back to cocaine. All right, speaking of Trump, he posted this on True Social. I've always suspected Shifty Adam Schiff was a scam artist, and now I learned that Fannie Mae's Financial Crimes Division has concluded that Adam Schiff has engaged in sustained pattern of possible mortgage fraud. Adam Schiff said his primary residence was in Maryland to get a cheaper mortgage rate and rip off America when he must live in California because he was a congressman from California. I always knew Adam Schiff was a crook. The fraud began with refinance on his Maryland property in February 6, 2009 and continued through multiple transactions until the Maryland property was correctly designated as a secondary home on October 13th, 2020. Mortgage fraud is very serious and crooked. Adam Schiff, now a senator, needs to be brought to justice. Audience, think about this. So this is what, like the third one? We had Tish James, now Adam Schiff. There was one other one. I think one of the heads of the Federal Reserve were being investigated. Jerome Powell for the $2.5 billion. Isn't this interesting? Everything they said that Trump did with his properties, overvaluing it was actually them. How? I don't know. All right, in our last story of the day, just the news is John Solomon interviewed Donald Trump yesterday. In a synopsis, this is what Trump basically told John Solomon in the interview. First of all, he said that he's not going to fire Jerome Powell because it may hurt the markets, but he does hope that he resigns. He also said he wants to declassify that the FBI had new Hillary Clinton intelligence on Hillary and chose not to look at that. And I guess that goes back to 2016, James Comey maybe? Trump also says they have nothing to hide regarding Epstein and is open to special prosecutors. He said he learned about a grand conspiracy case brought by Kash Patel and was not aware of it, and said he was open to a special prosecutor looking into the last 10 years of weaponized lawfare, and he hinted at it being similar to the mafia in the 1980s. That's interesting. That'd be RICO trials. Trump said, if I found out who's behind ICE attacks, if it's being coordinated, they will be designated as a terror organization. What if it's the Democrats? Is the political party going to be designated as a terror organization? That'd be crazy. And what was the last one? Oh, that we already covered, the Adam Schiff in the mortgage investigation. He said, finally, he wants to get the American people accountability and then move on to bigger and better things. And that's where we are in this country now. We are waiting. We are kind of in a holding pattern. What's up with the Epstein stuff? We've battled so many narratives so far going into this year. We are almost done with month 7, actually month 6, because it started in late January. But look at all the stuff we accomplished. Look at all the battles we won from the media. First, it was egg prices to tariffs to Trump's going to ruin the economy. Trump's going to cause the markets to crash. Trump's going to cause World War III. Trump's a pedophile. What's next? What's next? I don't know, but we'll be here to cover it. 3 to 4 p.m. every Monday and Thursday, at least until July 31st. Ryan, any closing thoughts before we head out? We got about another minute, I think.
I know, just really interesting show today, Joe. Like I said, there's just so much going on, and I turn a lot of time to you for what's going on in the world around us as far as politics and current events. And I was super excited about today. I just wondering what it's going to be Monday that we're going to be wondering about, but I'm sure you'll have all the scoop when it does come.
It's a whole new news cycle. Honestly, and anyone ever goes back, check us out on Rumble, Thinking Logically podcast on Rumble. Go look at it, listen to an episode from a month ago. See what happens. See how much has changed and what is forgotten and what just vanished from the news cycle. All right, that's it. We'll be back on Monday.
Yes, sir.
Same time, 3 to 4 p.m. Until then, this is Joe Corsi signing off for Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
You're listening to